in a higher form. Every detail is composed of countless subsidiary and complementary details, and all are completely suited for their individual function and for their collective functions. Such miraculous arrangements and billions of others far more spectacular fill every spot on the earth. Their testimony is loud and clear, and they bear witness to the master designer who perfected them. Let us take another random example. The common louse. It cements its egg to a human hair. This cement is so strong that it can be dissipated only by hot water. The head must be bathed every 7 days in very hot water. This is the Rambam. It's a footnote also. We talked about it on a few shows in the past. Maimonides was a great doctor in his own right. But this is what he says, which he knows Rambam, of course, is correct, before the culmination of the incubation period. The cement is of a formula which allows it to remain liquid while inside the insect's body, but which causes it to harden immediately upon contact with the air. This insect's proboscis is provided with stylets, tiny knives, to cut the host's skin. Into the wound it injects a chemical which prevents the host's blood from clotting, and thus the insect is enabled to continue to pump out blood. On each foot the insect has a stout claw to grasp the host's hair. Is there any feature of this phenomena that lends itself to explanation by accident? Did the gland which provides the cement come into being by random gene mutation? Did mere accident create the precise formula for cement, which hardens on contact with the air and not before? Did mere chance provide the exact chemical composition of the anticoagulant, which allows the host's blood to continue flowing? Did the stylus develop by haphazard, and did the claw on each foot just happen to be there? The trusting multitude, on hearing such questions, retort, that is evolution. Deluded by the media and the textbooks, they are confident that the all-seeing and all-knowing God of evolution looks ahead and provides whatever is needed. Even the academians do not hesitate to employ such forms of speech. But ideologically, the theorists claim that everything is a result of accidental gene mutations, of which the vast majority were useless or harmful. And they lean on the explanation that the process of natural selection weeded out the useless mutations and left over only those that had survival value. Stripped of verbiage, this means by blind accident there developed a gland which is capable of organizing materials into a cement. By blind accident there came into being a gland which is capable of synthesizing an anticoagulant. The stylets of the mouth parts were created by accident, and each foot gained a claw by accident. The ear is an accident, the tongue is an accident, the stomach is an accident, the eye is an accident, the heart is an accident, the brain is an accident, the knee is an accident, muscles are an accident, lungs are an accident, the nervous system is an accident, the kidney is an accident, the liver is an accident, digestion is an accident, the pituitary is an accident, reproduction is an accident, mother's milk is an accident, the DNA replicating system is an accident, an apple is an accident, a seed is an accident, ad infinitum. The blind academians who today lead the blind masses see nothing but accident. They see nothing because they wish to see nothing. Would they choose, they could see everything. The endless panorama of phenomena had been bestowed to enable man to see the great designer. God made so that they should fear him. Those who choose not to see cannot claim exemption from this universal obligation. To those who reject the blind and rigid partnership of the academians, the phenomena of nature speak clearly and testify to the Creator. Each phenomena is as accidental as a book, actually a library of books. It testifies to its author, and it was designed to testify to its authors. All your works praise you. Countless generations of monkeys pounding on the keys of billions of typewriters would even in 1 billion years not succeed in producing one logical sentence. No amount of chance mutations over endless periods of time would develop the least of the phenomena of living things. And in every instance we see only completed organs and functions and instincts. Never do we encounter any half-completed or developing organs or functions. Let us bear in mind that all wonders of the living things, such as their organs and secretions and instincts, are not extraneous addition to the plant or animal, but are integral parts of the entire organism. In every organism we see not merely a collection of independent organs, but a unified and correlated system, all of whose parts affect each other and work together for the benefit of the whole. Any accident of mutation would affect the entire organism. It is nothing short of lunacy to postulate a random change in any single component that would fortuitously harmonize with the countless other components of the organism. The phenomenon of corporation of all parts of the organism in itself a great refutation of any theory of accident. To cite a simple example, the child's growth slows down during a period of serious illness because the body needs its materials to combat the disease. After recovery, the process of growth is resumed at an accelerated rate to make up for lost time, sometimes 4 times as fast as normal growth rate. When the body attains a stage of development which its age and nature require, the growth rate slows down to its normal pace. Every cell in the body participates in this master strategy. Could anyone sincerely imagine this to be a result of random piecemeal mutations? We see the miracle of millions of cooperating cells which stand ready to sacrifice themselves for the welfare of the organism. When an animal is starving, it demonstrates a masterpiece of participation of all parts of the body according to a unified plan. A starving animal lives off its own tissues and organs, not indiscriminately, but according to the most efficient plan for survival. Before taking anything from its organs, it uses up its reserves of fat and glycogen. When it is reduced to the necessity of using materials from the organs, it does so with the most economical and prudent foresight. The organs are consumed in the order of their expendability. 1. The spleen is first sacrificed, then the liver, testes, muscles, blood, kidneys, skin, lungs, intestines, pancreas, and then the bones. All of these shrink in the above order to supply nourishment to keep the animal alive. It is extremely significant that even on the verge of death, the heart and the brain remain virtually unaffected. The entire organism sacrifices itself to maintain the heart, else all would be lost, and the brain must be preserved sufficiently alert to take advantage of any opportunity to gain food. Rightfully we say, "From my flesh I see God." That's from Job, because the cooperation of the components of the organism is such a vastly complex and purposeful arrangement that even in the blind materialist could perceive the hand of the Creator if they chose to see. Not only the body of the plant or animal is a demonstration of multiple interlocking plan and purpose, but the same is true of every one of the trillions of cells in each body. Every cell is today acknowledged as a system of great organizational sophistication. Each cell contains units for the manufacture of components essential for life, and units for disposal of waste and of used parts, and units for defense against invading organisms and foreign matters. Each one of these units is in itself a prodigiously efficient organization. They all cooperate with incredible efficiency by processes of staggeringly complicated interaction to maintain the organization of the individual cell. At the same time, all the components of the cell and its processes cooperate with all of the trillions of other cells of every description throughout the entire organism. Whatever happens to any part of the organism affects and activates every cell in the organism and every submicroscopic component of each cell. We stand dumbfounded at this spectacle of the divine design of the communication. And again from the Psalms 113, "Who is like Hashem our God, who dwells on high, yet looks down to the lowly?" and to the submicroscopic cell parts and fills them with endless wisdom. When a microbe penetrates the skin, the entire body goes into action. Miraculously, the neutrophils and the macrophages are informed and are summoned to the scene. The eater cells which devour the invading microorganisms are alarmed into action by chemotaxis, the actions of chemicals upon themselves, because the microbe itself releases material which spreads a chemical message to summon these eater cells. These policemen of the body hasten under their own power to go unerringly in the direction of the invaders. In addition, the microbe causes elements of the blood serum to separate out and thereby form alarm chemicals which set into action these cells to speed towards the microbe. But first it is necessary to identify the intruder. The invading microorganism is not conspicuous like a masked bandit on a deserted street. It has entered the crowded highways of the tissues and bloodstream through which an endless variety of materials is constantly flowing. How can these cells recognize a miscreant among such a motley and moving multitude? But unerringly these cells wend their way through the throng and go directly to the invader to pounce upon and devour it. In addition, they devour aged erythrocytes and other harmful materials, but they never consume any useful materials. This arrangement, the result of random gene mutations, can a self-respecting mind admit the remotest possibility of accident? All these and endlessly more adjustments are planned by the master designer, who performs these miraculous manipulations with a wisdom that has no limits, and all are for kindly purpose. We chose at random the phenomena of selectivity of perception. Consider the fact that remarkable gaps in the nervous system. The nervous system is not continuous, but is regularly interrupted by gaps. The function of these gaps is to prevent weak sensations from reaching the brain. This providential arrangement protects the brain from constant bombardment by every tiny stimulus. Weak electric impulses are unable to lead to gaps, and only the important stimuli can create electric impulses which are strong enough to cross the gaps and arrive at the brain. Another example. In the retina of the human eye, there are 100 million light receptors. However, they are attached to only 1 million nerve endings, which means that for every 100 light receptor cells, there is only one nerve by which they send their messages to the brain. Therefore, in order to travel by way of the nerve to the brain, a light sensation must be strong enough to activate 100 light receptors. This arrangement prevents constant bombardment of the brain by every negligible light sensation. Are such arrangements the result of accident? And their number is endless. The living organism, according to the fantasy of the theorist, ought to be encumbered by countless deformities and useless functions, all the result of purposeful accident, and awaiting their turn to be eliminated by the process of natural selection. The academians cannot claim that the genes of today no longer possess the accidental versatility of the genes of the mythical long ago, but it is all a vain dream. The Creator, again from the Psalms, founded the world with wisdom, and the world is built with kindliness. No organism alive or in fossil state demonstrates chaos or randomness. Every organ and function and instinct demonstrate only kindly purposefulness. Such intelligent purposefulness is evident on all sides. Consider the eye. It is a color camera. It focuses automatically according to the distance of the object. The lens adjusts its degree of curvature as necessary. The eye turns in the direction which is needed. The two eyes function like two perfectly synchronized cameras to form one picture in the brain. The iris controls the width of the entering light beam to admit more or less light as circumstances require. The pressure of the eye liquor is always precisely enough to maintain the proper shape of the eyeball. The lens is a living tissue which miraculously metamorphosed into transparent material which serves more efficiently than the best man-made product. Every component is of exquisite precision and is exactly suited for its specific function. the retina, eye, liquor, cornea, pupil, iris, eye muscles, lens, nerves, sclera, and others, all of different and especially composed materials, all developed from same bit of original embryonic tissue. Really, there's so much to talk about, even more about. I just want to give you what he talked about, a few examples. I gave my few examples about the, the inkwell from the Talmud spilling over, but really maybe it's your homework assignment, I could say that, is just to look around you and look like how could anything come into accident, and everything had a purpose. Things, of course, man-made, you know that, like I say, who wrote the book and things like that. Obviously, someone had to do it. Didn't fall out of the sky. And so to the world also. How could you say such a complicated and very sophisticated world? And we've just talked about a few examples now, but really you could do that all by yourself and look around you and saying someone had to be behind it, just like someone had to be behind the author of the book. In any case, we thank you very much. We wanted to conclude with The Universe Testifies, and have a good evening. Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabados of Delmar, and we have a very special guest with us today, Mr. Miguel Berger of the Tech Valley Homes. Welcome to the Jewish View, Miguel.
Thank you.
Now, we're not talking about real estate on the Jewish View over here, but wouldn't be a bad subject. But really, in any case, that besides your permanent job you have in the Capital District, you were actually a volunteer to get information for the Jewish Federation,
yes.
And you went to Israel, and that's where we brought you on the Jewish View. So tell us exactly what your mission from the Federation was to start off.
Well, there was the Israeli emergency mission, and I got a call on a Monday, and this was in September, and they asked me if I can go to Israel just to see what's going on and after the war and see what is needed. So on Sunday...
You went by yourself? Or?
No, there was a group of 22 people from all over the United States. I was the only one local. It was a short notice, of course. So on Sunday we were flying to Israel for 3 days. Once we got there...
this was after the barrage of war? I mean,
yes.
Compared to the recent, the Lebanon war.
Right.
They call Lebanon 2 or whatever.
Lebanon 2, yeah, that's what they're calling it. We flew there on Sunday night. We got there Monday morning. And we hit the ground running. We went from the airport to Haifa and see the damage and talk to the people. And what I experienced the most was when I got there was talking to the people, and it seemed like in the Galil was a ghost town. I mean, the businesses are down, people are suffering, the damage was unbelievable. And I just would like to encourage people to go to Israel. Actually, I heard a very bad statistic when we were in Haifa talking to the mayor of Haifa. He said that only 50% of the people, the Jewish people in the world, ever get to Israel. I couldn't believe it. I thought that was quite a low statistic. But bottom line is, as Jewish people around the world, we're very comfortable here, and Israel needs us. And what I experienced, what I saw, I was in, we got to Haifa, talked to business people. There is businesses going out of business, small businesses.
Because of that? I mean...
Because of the war.
Because the 2 weeks, or how long was it? It
was about a month. And still people are very cautious about what's going on. I mean, I felt extremely safe in Israel. Wasn't an issue of safety or anything like that, and I think a lot of people are saying, well, there was a war, there is terrorism. I felt extremely safe, and I left everything here and I just went over there. Bottom line, I think, is we need to be there to support our brothers and sisters. Federation offers all kinds of missions, I mean, family missions. This was an emergency mission. Most people cannot drop everything and go. But they have missions throughout the year, that these are family gear missions or business missions. It depends what your interests are. But when I got there, I felt so compelled to try to help these people. I mean, this is our bottom line is our homeland. That's the place where we ended up. Eventually, hopefully, we all ended up there.
Okay. I just want to ask on a few notes just to round out the story. I mean, you said they were going broke because of the month off. I mean, obviously, a month without closing down a business could hurt any business, but I mean,
the tourism.
I'm just saying the permanent economic impact. That's what I'm trying to look for.
The tourism in Israel has gone way down. A lot of people moved from the north to the central part of the country, Tel Aviv.
Because once they had this happen, they said, "I'm out of here. I'm not going to come back to such." Like a little bit like New Orleans, what they're talking about in America. Like, even though the trouble is over, just, hey, once is enough. I don't want to ever see that again. That kind of idea.
Right, and also the north is mainly supported by tourism.
Really?
The tourists stopped. I mean, the amount of people are coming to Israel these days are very low. I mean, a lot of cancellations because of this, and because it wasn't a real open war, wasn't a war against an army, was more so a war against terrorism.
Right.
So I mean, it's a little bit different than a war.
Because the war is over with, and period, and this. I mean, because they feel like it's still going on. That's the trouble. Like it hasn't been permanently closed. There's no closure to it.
Right. It's not like it's over and done with, and we accomplished certain things. The political issues. I'm not going to go there.
Yeah.
But my main focus is I was in Nahariya, and I mean everybody heard the hospital that got hit, direct hit. I was in that room, and the feeling of being in that room and see where the Katyusha came through the window and where it hit. And also we were shown there's the underground hospital that became very famous in this war. They moved 300 people 4 floors down into the basement of this hospital where they have another hospital set up with roads and everything else. And they moved all these people in an hour's time when the war started. And those are the things that we need to realize and see the importance of that existence. I mean, this is the Nahariya Hospital is the only hospital in Israel that has an underground facility. It is a survivor's thing, could hit anywhere. We saw buildings that they are. I mean, the funny part is you go through Israel and the damage is not there, physical. Most of the buildings have been rebuilt, most of the damage has been fixed, and because they fix it fairly quickly. But talking to the people, I don't think that most people outside Israel realize that they move thousands of kids from the north, to the middle of the country, like what we have here is summer camps. That didn't exist in Israel. They moved, I think it was about 10 or 15,000 kids in matters of hours to get them out of the
way.
Yeah.
So the psychological, scars, you say, I mean, surely would remain. I mean, it's hard for us to even imagine that kind of, what it means to have, your house, moved out because there's bombing around your house.
We're very comfortable here. I mean, overall, we all complain about the economy and everything else, but overall, we're comfortable here. I feel, I went there, I spent 4 hours in a shelter, underground shelter with some Ethiopian Jews. They didn't have air conditioning. And there was maybe about 50 people in the room. During the war, they had 150 people in this room, and we were all sweating. So those are the things that we don't realize. Living here in our comfort of our homes, seeing the news and talking to people, it's not the same. Now our turn has come, and I feel very strongly that, and it's not just in the north, it's in the south, everywhere. It's our turn to support these people, and how we can support them is by not just giving donations, that's a great thing, but we need to go there, spend a week, spend 3 days, 4 days, whatever it is, and show these people. I was walking in Nahariya, and people would come up to us because they knew we were in a mission, just regular people, and would tell us, thank you for being here. We really appreciate, the money is important, but the human touch is more important.
That's important. I know. Just on a personal story, I have, 2 children learning in Israel this year, and of course, so the violence was during the summer, so school year starts, and we can say it's all over. I mean, maybe not over for the people who lived in it, but all right, the bombs aren't flying at least, the mortar shells aren't being dropped, And there's unfortunately, I mean, it doesn't get headlines. I mean, like you say, nothing ever happens in America, oh, someone kills, in the middle of the night, Saturday night fight or something. You hear it on the news, but, mortar shell, bomb just doesn't go up. But there, it's, bomb here, bomb there. But, for us, so my kid calls me up, I'm in the middle teaching, and he says, well, there were 3 mortar shells 2 miles away, like he's all nervous and he's scared, whoever heard of such a thing in their life in America, even heard of someone gunshot, in the suburbs here. And, yeah, that's what I'm saying, that, and this was a small thing, very, very small compared to on the scale what these people went through, mortars hitting their houses or their neighborhoods. I mean, I don't know if, I say we, as surely myself, I can talk for myself to understand this, what the incredible psychological impact has to do on maybe adults, and maybe a lot of the Israelis went to the army, but you take little kids or something who never heard of such a thing, your own home's getting bombed is incredible.
I don't think we realize the magnitude of Israel, the size of Israel. It's so small. I mean, actually, in 3 days that we were there, we went from one end to the other end and stopped everywhere in between. And we were in the Gaza Strip also, right on the border on a military outpost, and we're taking pictures, as tourists do. And all of a sudden, the security guy, and I speak fluent Hebrew, so I hear a security guy speaking to somebody else in Hebrew, get them out of here in the bus because something was happening. Nobody realized what was going on, but it's on a constant basis, and it's not like the war is over and it's done. Terrorism lives. It's a bad thing, but it's a reality, and we have to stand together. We have to stand together because otherwise Israel cannot survive. And that's absolutely bottom line. I feel it's so important for us to just make sure that we support what our future generations will have. If Israel is not there, when I was 17, I moved to Israel from South America. If Israel wasn't there, I wouldn't have any place to go. It's the ultimate home. Everybody gets accepted and received over there, and everybody is taken care of. You see the Ethiopian Jews, the Russian Jews. You see all these people. It's one big happy family. Yeah, there is problems and there is issues like any other place, but I think ultimately that's where we're going to end up. Also talking to senior citizens over there. We went to a senior citizen housing, and the Katyushas or the rockets were falling. It fell pretty close to it, and these people were like, well, you know what, we dealt with it. But it's amazing to see their resilience and how they can survive this whole thing, that we see it in the news. And that's why the news is one way, but when you are there and experience it firsthand, it's a totally different feeling.
Yeah, it's interesting. But, there's another issue also, is just, like you say, financially. Of course, like you say, a person, that's in any troubles even thing. You can give a funder, but just showing up, it does more really than any money can do over here. But money is an issue. Money is money, and it's needed. And I just saw, and I don't have statistics and figures, but even the United States, you have these little stories. Oh yeah, we got to help out because Israel, of course, we know the story, also bombed Lebanon, and of course there were many refugees there too. Yeah, and all right, fine. No one should be a refugee, but find that I'm not even saying the United States shouldn't help them out, but then, well, wait a minute, they're helping out Lebanon. What about the Israelis? It's just like the story. You saw the story firsthand, so you can tell us, and that's why I wanted you to come on the Jewish View. But on the other hand, the press, you have a normal person looking at, hey, I'm getting my story about the Lebanon War from all the news stations and the newspapers. You're not getting this. You're getting, the per-Lebanon refugees. And I'm not downgrading their situation either. If they're hurt, they're hurt, and if it's true, it's true. Fine. And people should help them. The Arabs, these Arab countries are oil rich. They should also, they should be spending their money to help out their brothers out there in Lebanon. But, I'm using fair as fair. Just a newscast just paint, the per-Lebanon, they were hurt, and then you don't hear this kind of side of the story too much in Israel of how, the scars are, how much money that it was destroyed, or, how much help the Israelis need.
People don't realize that ultimately it's all about politics. Yes, there's Arab refugees, the Lebanese refugees. What about the Israeli refugees? I mean, there was people living like refugees. We don't have camps like they do, and I think what I saw is more people helping people. I mean, friends helping friends. You can come, 13 people stay in one house in Tel Aviv. I mean, I was talking to somebody and they say, yeah, I had 13 people from the north stay with me for 3 weeks. And those things are not going to make the news because we are not into the publicity business. I think we are a country that needs to survive, that needs to thrive through, and the only way it's going to happen is with our help. I mean, as Jewish in the diaspora, we need to support Israel. If we don't do it, nobody's going to do it. And I will challenge people to stay outside their comfort zone. We ask Israelis put themselves outside of their comfort of their homes during a war, and nobody complained. I mean, we never heard an Israeli complaining, well, this is bad. You know, fathers, sons went into the army, they were called into the army, they were asked to go to the army right away, and they dropped everything and go. We, you know, how many people we will ask to get outside their home for one night and be comfortable? They're not going to do it. But I will challenge people to get outside their comfort zone and try to support Israel, maybe monetarily or going over there in a visit. I mean, both are the same. And how you support, you know, the country right now is through federation. I mean, federation is the vehicle that will channel the money. I heard federation put money up in an emergency basis very quickly, not just to help people, but to help businesses. Now there's all kinds of small business loans managed through different groups in Israel, but also federation is the main vehicle. And I mean, people say, okay, federation, but really that's the only way we can do it. And we don't. It's not a one-time shot. It's an ongoing thing. It's always going to be some need in there. You know, it's too bad to say, but it's the truth. We have many enemies in the world, and if we are not stand side by side with our brothers and sisters, Israel is not going to exist. And the only way to do it is through supporting our local efforts here.
That's an important point. I mean, it's unfortunate it has to be that way. You think you get an even Stephen.
That's a word in reality.
Table. But yeah, that's like you say. But I mean, just to say the idea, I know that. I mean, you are right about that. You have to really take care of yourselves, and the Jewish people have always done that over there. Stick up for themselves. If you don't have your own friends and own Jewish people who you're going to rely on, even the United States, and we'd like to say that, you know, we have the political pressure to put on the United States and they're Israel's friend, and for a lot of times they are. I mean, so that shouldn't be underscored also. But, you know, here you see it a lot of times that Israel's getting the short end of the stick.
You know, blood sells news. I mean, bad news always sells the newspapers and the TV and all that stuff. They're not going to say, you know, the positive things that are going on here or there. It's not all doom and gloom. You know, let's face it. What I saw in Israel, yes, I saw the devastation of the war. I saw the bad things that happened to kids and adults. But also, you know, I saw some flowers that can grow. I mean, there is so much potential there. Most of the technology that we use here, like the cell phone technology, where that came from? Israel. I mean, who in the world would have thought to have an underground hospital? I mean, never occurred to me until I heard about it in the news here first, and then I saw it firsthand. And, you know, then somebody will think on those ways. And that's really what is going to make us go to the next level. And if that doesn't exist, if that bed of ideas doesn't exist, you know, we're not going to be anywhere. So it's not just the importance of a Jewish world, but it's also the importance of many things that happen in Israel that they will come. My dream will be that eventually Israel will not have to spend the kind of money they spend on the army and defense and all that stuff. But in reality, that's not there now. In reality is we have a problem. And we can always say, yeah, America is going to take care of it to a degree. Yeah, they are big brother. I mean, the United States is a big friend of Israel, and there's no denying that. But friends go so far. Brothers and sisters are the ones you can count on.
Yeah, right. No, it's an important point. That's why I bring out. Sometimes, you know, you see it, the unfair and the inequality in the situation. But, you know, you're right, the bottom line that you have to
what I see, what I understood is our job is to just make sure we go whichever way. I mean, there's my son, for example, he's 15. He's going in a truck to Israel next summer. He's going to backpack with a group of kids for 3 weeks in Israel, and I'm hoping this is going to be a great experience. And you know, you can read books, you can see the movies, until you don't experience it, it's not the same. I heard a news.